Okay, so there's four topics we're going to discuss this morning. The first one is the aggravated assault case from Thursday, March 22nd. The update that we have on that, as y'all should already know, is that we did make an arrest. ISD officers made an arrest within the first hour of the first call. That suspect is also a student at the school district. While there were other people involved or at that scene, no other arrests have been made yet at this time until such time as we obtain enough probable cause, and then we'll go after warrants at that point. I will say on the administrative side, the school district has been very active and proactive in their role in addressing this issue, and I believe that they're going to handle it all accordingly on the administrative side of the investigation. The second topic is the suspicious vehicle that we posted a notice about yesterday. This particular van has been seen multiple times with the same MO. There is a Hispanic male with a dark beard and dark glasses wearing a baseball hat of an unknown kind with unknown writing on it. They are operating a either Ford or Chevrolet white panel construction style, work style van. And they are approaching our students primarily in the Bella Vista subdivision. Thus far, all of the statements that we've been able to obtain from our witnesses indicate that the male is the one who does the speaking. He does speak in Spanish to the children, and he attempts to entice them to come and look at some puppies in the vehicle and or candy or both. This is not only disturbing to us as law enforcement, but as parents. It is extremely disturbing and very upsetting, and I can assure you that we are putting all of our resources into this investigation and to try and locate and apprehend these individuals. The female occupant in the van, to our knowledge, through all the investigation and statements that we've received, has not spoken to directly to any of the children involved in this incident. Also, one factor that we see that has been continuous through all of our statements from all of the juveniles involved is that there's a piece of cardboard covering the license plate of this vehicle. So, armed with that information, this should be pretty easy to spot in this particular part of the county and of our district. So we're certainly employing some extra resources in that area. We're working with other law enforcement agencies that are also assisting us in increasing patrols and aggressively trying to make sure that at our school bus stops that our students are very well protected. So before I go on to the next topic, does anybody have any questions about those two events?
How many children would you say have been approached, and during what time period?
Without giving too much, we have approximately a dozen statements so far that we have from our students. All of those statements, the information contained in those statements are certainly very similar in nature and how they describe the van and the occupants and what they're asking them to do.
Over the course of what time, though? Like 3 weeks? Has this been?
No, ma'am. To my knowledge, and from all the information that I have seen, only since last week, probably approximately Tuesday, Wednesday of last week is when this initiated.
Chief, this van that you've described, it sounds a lot like the one that actually hit the game warden as well. Is there a link?
We don't know if there's a link. I'm glad you brought that up because we are renewing those flyers in regards to that incident where a Texas game warden, was struck by a van occupied by a male and female. The van is very similar in description to the van that we are looking for, and the occupants' descriptions are also similar to what we are looking for. We obviously cannot connect the two at this point in time, but certainly wanted to bring that to the forefront that, hey, this case doesn't need to be forgotten either, and we need to see if there are any links to this couple and this van between our two cases.
What age bracket on these kids?
The age bracket varies between middle school and our intermediate school, so certainly younger children, and primarily it has been in the afternoons that this has occurred, but we have stepped up our patrols in the mornings and afternoons.
Close to bus stops or away from them or what?
Very close to bus stops, yes, sir.
So is he like waiting for kids to get off this? Is it around the time kids would get off the school bus?
Yes, it is around the time when they get off the bus and they're starting to walk home. All of our bus drivers have been alerted. We've actually had a briefing with our school bus drivers, and they have been very diligent in reporting any white vans that they see anywhere in the area. So certainly our bus drivers are well in tune. You put out 50 buses a day, that's a lot of eyes and radios that have direct radio contact to the ISD police.
Would you say this is like a predator waiting for kids to get off the bus? I mean, that's going to concern a lot of...
The preliminary information that we have is this individual is specifically targeting, trying to talk to and entice children to walk to the van. What his intentions are at that point is unknown, but certainly it's just unacceptable behavior, and if there are illegal intentions, we certainly need to make a stop to that.
How are these images captured?
On the game warden flyer, I don't know how those were captured, but I can certainly find out, and I'll get that to you before we leave today.
Chief, is this ban only approaching Hispanic kids? Because you said that this guy only speaks Spanish.
In Bella Vista, in that particular neighborhood, it is primarily a Hispanic community. Yes, to answer your question in the short version, yes.
Can you explain to people beyond just the Cleveland area where Bella Vista is?
Bella Vista and numerous other subdivisions are out FM 1010, approximately 6.5 to 7.5 miles south of the Cleveland city limits, but still well within our school district.
And whenever this van is approaching the kids, it's only the driver on the van, or is the passenger as well?
The driver is the male. Mm-hmm. There is a female passenger that has been with the male at times, not every time, but at times. She has not made any direct contact that we've been able to find with the children. Only the male does the talking.
What's a description of her, like age, background?
We're dealing with very young children. It's just a female. That's really all the information they have. Again, you have to keep in mind of the age group you're dealing with, which is very young, and so I'm very proud of our kids for the description they've given us. It's certainly more than what we would have had.
What is the age range of the students?
Elementary school to intermediate, so you could be anywhere from 7 to 10. Somewhere in that age range, 7 to 11.
Is there one thing over and over again that all of these kids can agree on that they say, like, what are these people say to them besides the puppy and is everyone saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
All 12
yes,
statements?
Ma'am.
Okay, so that's
all of the statements we have, yes, ma'am, they're all indicating the exact same MO, and they're all also indicating the cardboard over the plate.
Okay.
Can you kind of narrate the MO? Like, what do they do? Do they drive on?
So once the bus leaves where the children are dropped off at, and of course the bus continues on their route, it's very shortly after that the van appears and that the driver attempts to talk to the students. Another issue that I'm really is obviously a concern, but I'm very proud of our students, is that every one of them has mentioned stranger danger type ideology, and they were certainly in tune enough, even at that young age, to flee away from the van and to immediately report it. And I got to give a lot of credit to our kids, and I think that those types of programs are certainly making an impact in our younger children. And in this particular scenario, it is clearly evident in our investigation that them fleeing away from that van with that knowledge that we've taught them has come in very, very important.
Are these students together, or are you talking about 12 separate incidents, or these are?
We're talking about multiple separate incidents. At times, some of the kids are together. Obviously, they walk home together, and at times there has been 2 cases out of all of these where the students were actually by themselves, walking separate of some of the other children, but certainly all within sight of each other as they got off the school bus, exiting the stop.
Are you planning any assemblies? Maybe even with some Spanish-speaking things that Hispanic kids can be informed of what's going on?
All of our students are being informed on the administrative side of the district, and again, we've also talked to our school bus drivers, and I've also reached out to the developer in that area, and he and his chain of command, if you will, are certainly going to be reaching out to all of those civic leaders in those communities to try and make sure that everybody is certainly as well informed as they can be about this.
Both of them are Hispanic, right? Women and men are Hispanic.
Again, on the woman, on the female, there's not a whole lot of description. Again, taking in the age group, I can certainly understand that. And they're kind of fixated, if you will, on the male, as if he is the closest person they're seeing through the driver's side window.
And he's only speaking Spanish, or he's speaking English?
He has only spoken Spanish that we have been able to determine thus far.
You believe this van is still in Cleveland, in the Cleveland area?
That's unknown right now.
Do you think this guy's going to keep doing this?
You know, I would like to think that maybe with all of this information being brought out to light that he won't. but it has also been my experience in my career. Sometimes predators just cannot help themselves, no matter how hard they try. So time will tell.
Are
Do you
working
think
with
with the female, do you think it's actually a predator, or do you think it's something else?
Some predators, there's case history where there were partners involved. So it's not something that you can exclude in the investigation.
And are these kids majority male, female?
It has been both.
Just
There is no
both.
denominator for one greater than the other.
Okay.
You working with other law enforcement officials?
We are. We're working with our adjoining ISD law enforcement agencies, as well as Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Splendora Police Department, Liberty County Sheriff's Office. So we've certainly reached out to and made sure that they are all up to speed as well. And any feedback or information they're getting, they are staying in contact with us. And that has been around the clock since yesterday.
So how many incidents in how many days?
Again, I would determine, based on the information we have so far, sometime around mid-last week. Tuesday, Wednesday was the first contact that was made. And in that time, over a dozen cases of contact.
So everybody aggressive. He's very.
He's not aggressive in that he's trying. Correct.
To approach
The number of
kids.
times, yes, that I would say that would be a lot, especially for it to be a consistent storyline that he's telling these children. If there's no further questions on this, we'll move on to the next topic.
Can I just ask
Yes.
one really
Mhm.
briefly,
Sure.
just without getting into a lot of specifics, but what kind of stranger danger do you currently, as police officers, do in the district? Like, talk about this stuff?
We do with our elementaries. There are many times where our officers are invited into classrooms and into a library or our media center setting.
Mm-hmm.
And we have talked about stranger danger. We've also talked about abuse type issues with our younger children. And it's a program that we certainly believe in and work with our younger kids in our elementary schools to try and make sure that they understand what is right and wrong with conduct in regards to adults.
Do you do it once a year? Like when? How long?
So it's ongoing throughout the year. There's no specific time or how many times, but it is throughout the year.
Is it something you feel like now you should be visiting classrooms to just talk about this specific incident?
You know, I think I'll leave that for the administrators to determine how they want to deliver that information. Ours has been very general, just trying to educate the children that, hey, you know, somebody tries to come up to you, you don't need to approach the car no matter what they're offering you or no matter what they tell you. And no adult is going to come and try and take you away off the street. If someone does that, you need to let an adult know that you know right away.
Do you recommend that the children have a buddy system when they're walking?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we do see that a lot in our younger kids. I also encourage parents. Hey, I know everybody's got to work. I know some people, many people, myself included, we work 2 jobs. And I understand the time constraints with this, but I would try to find some family member, someone that you absolutely trust, to be at the bus stops, to try and be around your kids as much as possible so that they're not alone in the afternoons, whether they be walking home or standing and waiting at the school bus stops or coming home alone. Try to find some way to work together to network in your community and try to bring everyone together. Safety in numbers. Okay? All right, so topic number 4, since the Parkland, Florida tragedy, we have been working on a comprehensive plan for here at Cleveland ISD, and I believe we have come up with a very sound plan. And without going into a whole lot of detail on the security aspect, because I don't want to divulge some of those things that we're doing, but one of the deals that we've come up with, I worked with Deputy Squire from Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. He is a liaison for Crime Stoppers. And what we were discussing was some type of passive countermeasures that we can implement. And one of the devices that we have come up with is called the barricade. And this particular device runs about between $60 and $65 per device. But with Crime Stoppers' assistance, and I'll let him go into further, we have been able to obtain a very gracious donation to obtain enough of these devices for our district and possibly a neighboring district. But I'll let Deputy Squire take over and fill you in more about the Crime Stoppers aspect of this.
Thanks, Chief Evans. Again, I'm Steve Squire, and I'm the coordinator for Multi-County Crime Stoppers, which serves all of Montgomery County, Liberty County, and San Jacinto County. And a few weeks ago, Chief Evans reached out to me to discuss a device such as this to prevent doors from being forced open during active shooter events and everything. And since that time, he and I have done some very extensive research into the different models available, the cost factors, the capability of the children to utilize the device and everything. And this is the device that we think is going to be serving our schools the best. So we took this to the Crime Stoppers Board, which is run by a nonprofit 501c3 charity, all civilian volunteer board of directors. And we asked them to start a pilot program for Cleveland ISD and one of our neighboring ISDs. So we're happy to bring these devices to put in every one of the classrooms in this school. At this time, I'll answer any kind of questions you have. Can I take it from there?
Just kind of, how does it work?
How does it work? Okay. So this device weighs under 2 pounds, and it'll be mounted next to the door of every single classroom. So whenever there's an active shooter event, all the student or the teacher has to do is, depending on what style door they have, simply, in this device, open up the door, slide it on the bottom channel of the door, take this pin, drop it in the hole. Once it hits a stop, it aligns this hole, the pin goes down and locks the device in. What is nice for law enforcement is the device has this reflective panel so that in the hallways, when law enforcement officers are clearing that school building, with a quick glance down the hall, we're able to know which doors have been secured and which doors have not, which may expedite the process of us going in, clearing the building, and getting to the active shooter event. There's another device that comes the same manufacturer. Instead of having this piece here, it's flat so that we have inward opening doors. They never even have to open the door. They can simply slide it underneath the door, again, align it, drop the pin, and it's good to go. And you can install the device in probably 3 to 5 seconds.
What's it made from?
It's made from a very tough polymer plastic, and you can see it's very well reinforced. The company has done a lot of extensive testing, which is why we believe this is a device that we're going to use for us. They've shot it with numerous different handguns and rifles and shotguns to prove that the device will withstand that kind of an impact. And I believe Chief has even tested the device here in-house with one of his officers, and it did what it was supposed to do. It prevented entry into that building. Anybody else?
How many total are we talking about? You said that's going to cover all the district. How many approximately?
Correct. Our initial order was for 1,000 devices, which should provide enough for this district and the neighboring district.
So the school district just has to drill a hole, basically, like in the floor to.
That is it. So the school
Okay.
district simply has to go in and mount it, and then they have to drill a hole at the door, and then there's a stop device, which has to be mounted on the door. And once the stop device is mounted on the door, whenever the device is slid onto the door and it hits the stop, it aligns it perfectly with the hole. So literally, this device will fall into place once you hit it in the correct spot on the stop. So you don't have to worry about trying to wiggle it back and forth and find the hole or anything like that in an emergency situation. You just go to the stop, and it goes into place.
Okay. All right. The last final topic was active shooter full-scale emergency exercise. Many of y'all have covered this before when we put on an exercise here at Cleveland. This time, however, obviously there's a lot of focus and attention with regards to active shooters in school environment. So we are going to expand our active shooter full scale, and we're going to be inviting even more law enforcement, fire, and EMS agencies to participate, and we are also increasing our number of students and faculty and staff who will be participating. Without going into a whole lot of detail on the security side of it, we will definitely be testing and trying to educate our officers as well as our students and staff how to react in such an event. And I believe that, especially at our high school level, it's imperative to teach our kids and to educate them with how to respond to such a critical incident and maintain some semblance of composure and to understand the dynamics of run, hide, and fight. Sometimes, sadly, those are your 3 options: run, hide, and fight. And I think that the school shootings are a horrible manifestation out of many different things, but they are obviously not going to go away. So the best thing that we can do by working with our partners in the community and other agencies is to come up with plans to mitigate any type of damage that can be done or injury or death that can be inflicted. So the passive countermeasures are one step, and then of course we are adding to our police force, just as many ISDs in this area are adding to their police force. So those are all things that are going on here, specifically at Cleveland ISD, but I wanted to take a minute to share with y'all on those 4 topics so that everyone understands that the Cleveland ISD and the ISD Police Department are doing everything we can on multiple fronts to ensure that our kids are safe and secure, not only at school, but on their school buses and at their school bus stops. We're going to continue those efforts, and we have the full support of our superintendent and school board, and there's just no stopping. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. And I cannot thank Crime Stoppers and Deputy Squire enough for all the effort and the money that they have put into this. It was a significant amount of funding, and they being Crime Stoppers, multi-county Crime Stoppers, has bought body cameras, ECDs. They have really helped support our agency, much like the 100 Club of Houston has supported our agency. So we were able to provide a pretty safe environment for our kids here in Cleveland. At this time, if there's any further questions, I'll be more than happy to take them on any of one of the topics.
Will this active shooter drill take place over the summer?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be August the 8th. Any other questions on the 4 topics? I'll be more than happy to answer. We good?